Let's now look at Chapter 10 Code in Action, which is publishing starter kits. So first thing we will do is we will actually take a look at uh, installing the Python packages that are needed. And in the meantime, I'll also try and open my Chapter 10 repo here. Okay, so next thing to do is you need Docker Compose, which is available through the Docker desktop, so we should be good. We will go ahead and export the Backstage URL. You can get this from Bitwarden too, but just keep it simple here. Now, we also want to make sure that we had earlier set up Backstage and we want Backstage to be running for this chapter. So we'll see if it is running. Okay, it confirms that the Backstage is running. And I can also see that by going to localhost :7007. Now, I want to make sure that I understand the readiness of this pod. Yeah, the status is okay. Now we can go ahead and start looking at the first step. So first thing we're actually going to do is to the purpose of chapter 10 is about packaging the golden paths and starter kit templates. So we should start by looking at how a template repository is organized. So we'll go to templates, backend service, V1. So that's the first version of it. And then we look at a skeleton. So here you will actually find various files that are part of your template. You will find a README file. As you can see, you would find catalog info.yaml, the database, dev.py, docker compose YAML, and all that files. So this skeleton will look exactly like a real project. So that is the beauty of this whole thing. So every file a developer needs is right there from day one. So you don't have to do anything else with it. So the next thing you can do is look at Backstage template definition. So in here we will look at template.yaml. Just minimize this. Okay, we'll look at the template.yaml. So this has got all the parameters, steps, and outputs. So the parameters, what you see here, these ones, they sort of define the form fields, things like your service name, your team, your database, port, repo URL, and all that. Then you should have the steps to execute. Yeah, the steps here. The steps are primarily, it's executed in order. So it's going through fetch. Then you'll have fetch database, fetch infra, and publish. Those things are there. And what else is there? And the output section is the last one. So the output section gives the developer links to the new repo and catalog entry. So that is what this Backstage template definition would look like. Now let's inspect the skeleton. The skeleton would be under the skeleton folder package.json. So package.json would tell you information around like the raw template syntax before it gets processed. So this is essentially the raw syntax. Then it gets processed in the process. So once that is done, we can really start running some structural tests. So let's run test. Let's see if test templates are here. Okay, let's run that test. So you can see that these two tests passed. and that is what you would expect here. So you would see these two paths, test passed. So now you're ready to scaffold a project locally. So this is the interesting part. We are going to generate a project from the template. So we'll have the scaffold.py, scaffold.py, this script. So you might want to look at that one. So scaffold.py, py simulates that backstage fetch template action. So what it does is that it sort of copies the skeleton, substitute the variables, process the conditionals, and removes any unused database files. So that's what this does. So let's try running it, see how that goes. Okay, so it created the project. So the project is called order service. You can see the project is scaffolded and the information is right there. Now, the generated project is here. So I think it has got all these files like package.json. You can see this has been generated from the earlier scaffolding that we looked at. Then what else is there in our service? You have your Docker Compose, dev py, all the files that we said that's going to be there are now available in this service. Now, next thing to do would be for us to validate this scaffolded project. So we scaffold this project auto service. Now let's go inside and validate it. So what it's saying is that it tells you all the files that needs to be there is there. So it'd be good for you to have a validation script. And this is a standard one that comes with the part of the scaffolding process. So you can go ahead and do that. Now, next thing to do would be to build a Docker container because this is how you prove that the Docker file actually works, right? I mean, so we know that this Docker file is there. You need to make sure that it actually works. So we will try and do a Docker build. Okay, now let's build the Docker container. You can see that it's going through and building the Docker container for auto service. And it's exporting the image there. And this build is essentially producing a production image here. And if it builds, we can push that straight to the container registry. Okay, so I think it's did all of that. So now let's check the images. Okay, you can see the image that was built. Now comes the idea of publishing to Backstage. So to publish to Backstage, we have this script called publish.py. Let's look at what it does. So essentially, publish the starter kit templates to the Backstage catalog. That's what this does. So you can come here and run this. I think I'm running it from the wrong place, so I should probably run it here. So it went ahead and registered this and published one. So that's good. Now we can switch to the browser and look at the browser, the backstage in the browser for the next steps. Okay, now that we have published the template to Backstage, it's time for us to really come back and look at the Backstage UI to see if it is showing up there. So we'll come up to here and look at our thing. And you can now see that the backend service that we actually published is back here, is available here. So the uh, now let's click on this. We'll choose on this. And once you do that, you can see it opens up and provide you all the information that you need. So your service information, for example, you can provide your service name, your team name, description, information on that, and then go ahead and to the next step. So let's provide a service here, like my front end team is platform engineering team, and this is my P team front end. Go to next. Then you can say, you can select your Postgres as a database, select port 8080, and select your GitHub repo and owner. And you can provide a repo name, test repo. Go ahead and review this, and let's go create that.